DavidJHand, The Improbability Principle, Why Coincidences, Miracles, and Rare Events Happen Every Day. Discover the fascinating world of coincidences, rare events, and the seemingly miraculous. In The Improbability Principle, Why Coincidences, Miracles, and Rare Events Happen Every Day, author DavidJHand unravels the mysteries of probability and explores the reasons why seemingly impossible events occur in our daily lives. Delving deep into the world of statistics, scientific principles, and human biases, you'll learn about the improbability principle, the 5 fundamental laws of chance, and how they can explain the seemingly unexplainable events.
The improbability principle. Are highly improbable events miracles or a result of scientific laws? The improbability principle explores how rare occurrences with vanishingly small probabilities happen every day, including a woman winning the lottery twice, a man surviving being struck by lightning 7 times, and an actor finding the only copy of a book he needed on a subway. While it may seem tempting to attribute these events to supernatural powers, the book suggests that scientific laws explain them. The improbability principle provides insight into the bizarre and uncanny events that often leave us awestruck. The Clockwork Universe Reimagined. Scientists changing views on nature and the role of probability. At the turn of the 20th century, the prevailing view of nature was one of a deterministic universe, referred to as the Clockwork Universe. However, scientists today recognize that some systems are inherently unstable, leading to imprecise measurements and unpredictable outcomes. Even the slightest change, as in the case of water freezing, can drastically shift a system's state. This uncertainty is a fundamental property of nature, exemplified in the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which states that position and momentum cannot be known with complete accuracy. Rather than view nature as a clockwork universe, it's essential to recognize the role of probability in understanding the world around us. Improbable events are not miracles but are, in fact, commonplace. The improbability principle explanation. The improbability principle is composed of 5 basic interrelating laws of probability that enable highly unlikely events to happen and continue to occur. The first 2 laws are discussed in detail in this summary. The initial principle indicates that an event must happen, and there are always many possible outcomes. Any one of the results on the list will inevitably transpire. The second law involves the vast number of opportunities presented, making the occurrence of unlikely events increasingly likely. For instance, while finding a 4-leaf clover in your first try is an incredible feat, making it a mission to find it and searching for it with a larger group of people increases the chances of discovering it. The improbability principle explains why unlikely events can happen and how the universe's rules change for rare opportunities. The law of selection. The law of selection states that we can adjust probabilities by making the right choices after an event occurs. This means that we can alter outcomes even after they have happened. We can also influence outcomes before they occur by making wise decisions. For example, when playing the lottery, instead of choosing numbers based on a pattern, choose numbers that others are unlikely to choose to increase the chances of winning a higher amount. The law of selection shows us that we have more control over the outcome of events than we might think. The improbability principle law. The smallest probabilities can have a massive impact on rare events. The 4th law of the improbability principle states even the slight change in the probability of a single event can have a substantial effect on the chance of other improbable events. The book delves into real-life examples of how slight departures from mathematical models and individual circumstances can affect the probability of rare events. Despite the odds, the unpredictable happens. Thus, it's essential to understand the fundamental connection between the improbability principle law and the butterfly effect. The improbability principle. The improbability principle states that we often regard similar events as identical by relaxing the criteria for a match, even though they may not be. The 5th law of this principle is the law of near enough, which describes how we treat sufficiently similar events the same way that we treat identical ones. This phenomenon can have drastic consequences, like in the case of Charles Piazzi Smith, who believed that the Great Pyramid of Giza's perimeter equaled the number of days in 1,000 years. He therefore believed that the pyramid inch was a divine measurement passed down from the biblical Noah's son. However, his findings were later proved inaccurate. It's important to note that apparent coincidences may still represent underlying truths, as is the case with the matching shapes of the American, European, and African coastlines, which were once connected. The Improbability Principle Unmasked. The improbability principle explores common human tendencies that make probability difficult to grasp, including our struggle with randomness, our overestimation of low probabilities and underestimation of high ones, and our tendency to perceive dependent events as more likely than independent events. The book reveals how stereotypes and biases lead to our misconceptions, even among professional statisticians. Our biases and how they affect our thinking. The human brain is heavily biased towards confirming our own hypotheses rather than testing them. Even movements like the Enlightenment failed to recognize that. This tendency leads to errors in reasoning and decision-making. Our biases also influence our perceptions of luck and optimism. For instance, we tend to find evidence that supports our beliefs, and optimists tend to spend more time looking for what they are searching for than pessimists. This summary highlights numerous examples of our cognitive biases, emphasizing the need to be cognizant of them in our thinking processes.
In conclusion, despite seemingly improbable occurrences in everyday life, what may appear as miracles or supernatural events can actually be understood through the 5 interconnected laws of chance, known as the improbability principle. By learning about the laws of inevitability, truly large numbers, selection, probability lever, and near enough, we can grasp the reasoning behind these extraordinary occurrences. Additionally, by acknowledging the biases and idiosyncrasies in the way humans perceive the world, we can develop a better understanding of probability, enabling us to make better decisions and recognize the serendipitous nature of our existence.